Hey guys, it's Becky with Design Bundles, and today I am excited to talk to you more about sublimation. It's one of my favorite crafts, and today we are going to go over some of the basics of sublimating on t-shirts. So we're going to cover everything from what to look for in a t-shirt, we're going to set up the design in Silhouette Studio, but remember those basics usually apply to most of your design software, so don't let Silhouette Studio scare you off. But we are actually going to print and press 4 different shirts for you today, and of course at the end we will give you our overview of how it went. Let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, so I am going to set up several different designs, and this is for multiple reasons. First of all, I'm going to sublimate several different shirts for you, but the reason that I am sublimating several different shirts is because I want to show you what sublimation looks like on different colors. A lot of times people have a hard time visualizing what something is going to look like on a shirt that's not white. So we will go through both colors and white and gray. Now I got this really awesome file is a bundle from Design Bundles, and I really was in love with several of the designs that were in there. So I'm going to go through File and Merge, and I'm going to bring several of those into the same area. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to be able to combine them onto the same print sheet. Okay, so these are all the designs that I'm working with. I'm doing 2 for my daughter and 2 for myself. And one thing that I wanted to show you, I brought in the SVG format of this one right here. And that is because I have the option, if it's in an SVG format, to change the fill color. I can even fill it with a pattern if I want to. And I really like that, and I like that I'm familiar enough with Silhouette Studio to make that happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in I actually want a dark purple pattern. And what I can do is once I have the fill, I can come over here to these image effects and I can change how dark this is. Now this is actually going on a green shirt, so I don't think that this is going to have a lot of impact, but just off the chance that it does, we're going to go ahead and take care of that today. Okay, so for my designs, I'm going to lock the aspect ratio, and I want those to be 11 inches wide. You can definitely tell that I am in the mood for Halloween, so and so let's compare these two real quick. And what I want to show you, when you're working with, especially if you're used to working with SVGs, do you see how my selection box is trimmed down really close to my SVG? That's not always the case with PNG. So remember, we size this down to 11 inches. But if I were to size this one to 11 inches wide, see how it's not actually 11 inches wide? So what I can do is I can draw a box and try to get it close to my design. I do not want it to be too close. I don't want to cut off any part of my design, but I can select those and I can crop it down. And it gets rid of that extra space around it. So now, if I lock it and do 11 inches wide, I'm definitely a lot closer to where I want to be. And then if I want to, I can still make it bigger by hand until I'm happy with it. So both of those I am very happy with. And then for my daughter's designs, I want them to be roughly 8 inches. So this one's a little bit longer, so I'm going to make it 9 inches tall. And on this one is wider, so I will stick with the 8 inches wide. All right, so when I talk about squeezing these onto one sheet, let's go ahead. We're going to flip these because otherwise I will forget, and we do want them to print mirrored. Okay, now let's also talk about setting up our page. We're going to go to our page setup panel, and you can see that I have, now this is pretty specific to Silhouette Studio, but some of this may hold true for other design softwares depending on what you're using. So I'm going to select no machine, no cutting mat, and my media size I'm going to select custom. In this situation I am doing a 13 by 19 sheet. And you want to make sure that you have your print border turned on. And the print border is this little gray outline around the outside. And the reason that you want that turned on is because it will give you an indicator of what your printer settings are. Now mine surrounds my entire page here, but let's go into so this is the printer I'm printing on, and we're going to go into our preferences. And I just want to show you, because every time I close out of my software and come back in, I have to reset these. But you'll notice if I had it set to letter, then my print area would be my first indicator. I would want to look at that print border and say, hey, that doesn't incorporate my entire sheet, so something's wrong. So what I want to do is make sure I go to preferences, and this is on an Epson, so I'm going to make sure my document size is set to Super B, which is your 13 by 19. And then I want to make sure my paper type is set to Premium Presentation Paper Matte, and I leave my quality as standard. Now I can hit apply and hit cancel, and you'll see that my print border goes back to where it belongs. So basically what this is telling me is anything that I can fit inside this print border, I can print on a single page. So let's go ahead and start scrunching these designs together. Obviously I cannot fit both of my designs on here, but I can fit my design and my daughter's design together. So very lucky about that. And nope, I can't push it with that one, but I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Print and hit print. And what this will do is it'll send this first sheet, and then I can go ahead and smush in the other two designs and get those printed as well. So I'm just going to move these off. Now, if this is like an order or something, if I'm selling prints or selling designs, then I can actually save these as they are on the page so that I can just print them over and over again. But these will be more or less one-time designs for me, so I don't really have to do that.
Okay, so let's get started. These are the sublimation prints that we printed. I have them all trimmed down, and I do that not only because it's easy to center them when you have not a lot of white paper around them, but also sometimes my printer will leave ink along the sides and then that will transfer onto the shirt, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to set these to the side, and I'm going to show you the shirts that we're working with. I have a regular white. Now this shirt is 100% polyester, and this shirt here, this gray one, is also 100% polyester. Okay, these two here, just because they're really fun colors and I like them, they are only 65% polyester. So if you'll notice, the designs that I chose are pretty basic, and the reason I do that, especially the 65% polyester, is because some of my ink will wash out. So the way that this translates is that you need the polyester for the ink to bond to the fibers. So if you only have 65% polyester, then that means basically, unless you treat the shirt with something, 35% of your ink will eventually wash out. Now, we won't see that right away in this press, but it's something that will happen. And as long as you've gone with basic designs like I have, and when I talk about basic, these designs do not have a lot of detail for me to lose, okay? Whereas this design, you know, I would lose a lot of the background, and same thing here. I would start losing some of the detail, and it would really affect the type of image and the type of final product that I have. So just something to keep in mind. I know a lot of people talk about pressing on poly cotton blends, but if you can help it, try to find those 100% polyester. I buy mine online. This in particular, this is a Jersey 21. Well, the adult equivalent is the 21M. They sublimate really, really well. This one just came from a local store. It is one of the dry fit shirts. A lot of those are polyester, so check those out. And then these were online, but people talk about you can find shirts locally too, usually in the men's section. So just check the tags before you buy and kind of make sure you know what you're getting into. So let's start off with our white shirt first. Now this shirt, I need to have a lint roller okay? I don't worry about it on clothing or blanks that aren't white, but I just want to make sure I have everything off, and then especially on white, I go over it with the lint roller. If you ever press a shirt or anything that's white and you end up with little blue dots all over, that's from not lint rolling it. So I don't have a lint roller, so, well, I mean I do, but it's hiding from me. So I'm using packaging tape, and I'm just gonna go over the entire shirt, or at least the entire area that I'm pressing. And just make sure this is basically gonna get all the fuzz off. Because a lot of times the shirt doesn't look like it has any fuzz, but it's hiding from you. These shirts can be deceiving. And then I also want to get a piece of butcher paper that is going to fit inside of my shirt. Here we go. So you notice it doesn't have to go side to side. It just basically needs to cover the part that I will be applying the design to. Okay, so we have our butcher paper in there. Now, if you don't have butcher paper, you can use copy paper, you can use parchment paper. There's a lot of different things that you can use. And what I want to do is I am going to personally, I'm going to use this one, okay? Because these colors are really going to look good on the white. And then I want you to notice the difference on when we use this one on the gray. So I'm going to spray it with some adhesive spray. And the reason that we're doing this is so that we don't get any ghosting. Ghosting is when particularly you're lifting up your heat press, or in this case your easy press, and your design can shift a little bit. Now I just use a Krylon repositionable spray, but you can also get that from your favorite sublimation dealer, vendor. And I'm going in at 400 degrees for 60 seconds. Now, especially with white shirts, they scorch easier, so you may want to go in at roughly 380, 385, and you can even lessen the time a little bit. So I'm actually going to stop and check this out at about 45 seconds instead of a minute. Okay, so I don't think I got any major scorching. Let's see how our design did. Ooh, really good. Look how vibrant those colors are. Were you a little worried at how faded they were when we put them on there? And then of course, now you never want to reuse your butcher paper, because I don't know if you can see or not, but I did get a little bit of ink transfer on here, and that can sublimate onto your next project. So this, oh, can you see right up here, that blue dot that I got? All right, I must have missed with my lint roller, aka packaging tape, but luckily for this design, it doesn't hurt it too bad. It doesn't look too crazy. So let's move on to our next shirt. So this is our dry fit shirt, and I wanted you to see, now this is a pretty dark gray, so we should get some transfer. Now, if I used more vibrant colors on this, then I'm sure the results would be better, but I'm trying to give you an accurate representation of how this works. So what it is that your sublimation printer, or prints, if you're purchasing the prints from someplace, they do not print, at least not standard, they do not print white ink. Okay, so what that means is that any place that is supposed to be white in your design is now going to just show the color of your shirt underneath. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just something to acknowledge. And if you are looking for a project that you're going to have just really bright, vibrant colors that are going to be accurate for whatever your project is, then you're going to go with a white shirt. Now, remember I mentioned the Jersey 21M. That's probably my favorite shirt to sublimate on. And I personally actually like the gray, and I use the gray a lot. And I still get pretty vibrant colors because it's 100% polyester, but it doesn't have that sport feel like this one does. This one has that dry wicking, okay? So just something to keep in mind when you're choosing shirts. All right, let's see how we did. Ooh, look how pretty it is. So I am very, very happy with how this turned out. Actually, the colors turned out more vibrant than I thought, but if you were trying to, ooh, that's warm. But if you were trying to read this from afar, you'll see how my lighter colors here, and even like some of the lighter color gray, it adds great character to the design, and I really love it. I'm really glad that I did this on the gray. But just know that, you know, that's something that you're working with, and set yourself up to have those expectations. Let's move on to our next shirt. Now here come what I'm gonna call the fun shirts. Now I love this orange. I have to admit though, I only get to wear it, about a month out of the year. Now I could do fall things on here, but I don't because I just really love it for Halloween. So this is the design that I picked out for this one. I'm just gonna hit it with that adhesive spray. Put it face down on my shirt. Now I am trying my best to make sure that I get them straight, but so if you watch any of my heat transfer videos, you know I usually fold my shirt in half to get that press line. I don't do that on Sublimation because I've actually had it to where that line sublimated weird. So just FYI. So I'm trying to make sure I get my whole design covered. Another good thing that I have found out about these poly-cotton blends is I don't think that they scorch as easy either. I think that cotton in there keeps them from scorching as bad. So I think we're good. Ta-da! Now on this shirt in particular, this pressing box will go away. It's just from being so hot. So you can expect that to some extent, but then sometimes, especially red shirts for whatever reason, red shirts will get discolored. And if you have extra shirts, then what that means is that you could try again and go in at a lower temp. But if you don't have any extra shirts, then what you can do as a kind of a fail-safe is just to press the rest of your shirt so that it all matches. But for this one, I just gotta let it cool off. And last but not least, I have this really awesome color green, which I just really love. I love these two colors. Now this color is also good in the spring. I mean, I guess the orange is too, but this color is really good in the spring. So I'm going to, now remember this is a dark purple. I don't know if you can see that from where you're at. Okay, so what I'll do this time is I will go ahead and preemptively press the top and then move it down. Now I'll say I use my Cricut Easy Press because it's really great for videos, especially sublimation videos, but I do recommend getting a, I don't want to call it a real heat press, but you know what I mean. But getting a real heat press because you're going to get more consistent pressure. And for a lot of your sublimation blanks, that consistent pressure can really make a big deal. Like for example, I'm pressing these on pressing pillows, and this helps to even out my pressure. Although a Cricut Easy Press works good for these types of projects, if you really get serious about sublimation, then you are going to want to invest in a heat press. All right, so I move that down, and this will be the final press. And I'll be honest with you, I really just can't wait to see how this purple turns out, if you can see it at all. So what I want to talk to you about sublimating on color shirts is I often hear it compared to coloring with crayons on like construction paper, for example, because the colors that you're sublimating onto the shirt are also going to take on the color of that shirt. So we talked about how the printer doesn't print white, and the same is true. Just imagine that whatever color the shirt you're pressing on, add that color in with the colors in your transfer. So if I am printing red, white, and blue, and I press it on a red shirt, then the blue isn't really gonna look blue, and the red's gonna blend in unless it's a really dark shade. If I'm trying to do any type of pastel, then unless it's a light colored shirt, I'm really gonna lose a lot of the vibrancy of those colors. All right guys, fingers crossed. Ooh, pretty, pretty, pretty. Okay, so I'll be honest with you, it looks black, which we expected. We talked about that whenever we picked out the design. Even though I did purple, it still looks black on the shirt. And I'm okay with that. I'm not disappointed in that at all. I just kind of wanted to give you guys that example of how it works. I have to say, this is the first time that I have done this many projects for you, but I really wanted you to see the difference between subbing on white shirts, sublimating on gray shirts, and on these, not only did we sublimate on color, but these are also 65% poly, 35% cotton. So you can definitely see some of the differences in quality. The 100% polyester is the clear winner in terms of how great the graphics turn out. And I really can't be happier with these shirts, and hopefully we were able to share some really good information with you. Naturally, if you have any questions, make sure you leave it in the comments below. And if you're enjoying our little sublimation journey, or even if you just want to check out some other videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we are continuously bringing you new projects and always trying to share great ideas with you. So I really appreciate you stopping by today, and we will see you next time. Bye guys.